Hello Stampers, welcome to my channel. My name is Lori Staley, Addicted Stamper with Stampin' Up. And whether you're returning to watch another video or if this is your first time on my channel, I'm so happy that you're here. Thanks so much. I do a Make It Monday video every week and I'm so happy that you stopped by today to check it out. I want to talk a little bit about this mini catalog because I know that the annual catalog is down to just a couple of weeks. But just to refresh memories, this catalog will be lasting through June of 2021. So we'll have the new annual catalog, and this catalog will continue for just a few, about 2 months after that. And then we'll have our July through December mini catalog coming out as well. And I want to make sure that you give all the due love to all the products in this catalog, right? So we are going to play today with this one. It's one of my favorites, although I haven't really played that much with it, but the projects I have designed I absolutely love. This is called Welcoming Window. It's on page 58 of the mini catalog. And I love the stamps. I love the floral images in it that go in your terracotta pots or your pitcher. And I love, love, love these dies. We're going to do a real cool die inking technique today that you may or may not have seen before. Let me show you those dies a little bit more up close and in person, right? So, of course, there's our stamp set. And then these are our dies. So you have your window, you have shutters, you have your shelf, for lack of a better word, I guess. And then your images that cut out your flowers. Another option for shutters and window and shelf. The pitcher, all the terracotta pots. There's 4 different sizes of terracotta pots, although this one might be really close, if not exact. And then your hinges. And check out the hinges. They're really cool as well because you get 4 on one die. So you get a full set. So if you're making multiples of a card, you have 2 of those in here that you can cut at the same time. So I love that. I also love that this particular hinge, which is what we're going to use today, is one piece, but it cuts 2 separate pieces. So that's cool as well. So a great die set and a great stamp set. Can't go wrong. And of course it is bundled, so it saves you a 10% on the total price, which is also very cool, right? Let me show you the card that we're going to do real quick. This is our card. I love the In Good Taste paper, which is this designer series paper that I have here in the background. And we're starting out with basic gray and that piece of paper. I'm going to lay that there. We're going to use that in a second, so I'll slide that out of the way. So basic gray, cut 4 1/4 by 11. And then this is one of the textiles in the In Good Taste paper. Love that as well. Actually, I've gone through 3 packs of that, and that's a large pack of designer series paper. And I'm very happy to say that it did not retire. I didn't want to put that tape on there, so you know what I'm going to do? Let me grab my silicone pad. I want to stamp this before I put that on the card front. And what I did to get this ivy look across the top, right? I took one of the floral images. Actually, I took the one that I'm using to top off the picture there. And I stamped it. Don't you love the silicone pad? It lets you get away with all kinds of issues. So I just inked this up in Just Jade. And I just stamped this across the top, twisting and turning, right, to get different patterns. And then I can come back in and I can fill that in. And you can make it go lower on the wall if you want to. But I thought just a little bit across the top gave that effect of the ivy, right? Or at least some greenery coming down through there. There we go. All right, let me put that away. Because if I don't, I will lay my hand right in the ink pad. I'm sure some of you have experienced that joy. Of course, you know, I tell my stampers that I know you're a true stamper when you have ink on your hands. I have a lot of stampers that really like messy techniques, and then I have some that not so much. They want to keep their hands clean. So which one are you? Are you a messy stamper, or are you a... I like it to stay clean. I do both. It doesn't matter to me. All right, I want to show you this cool dye inking technique. If you can see with the camera, the grain in the shutters and a little bit on the shelf. I don't think I actually did the window now that I look at this. I did this inking technique on because it brings out more of the embossed portion of a die when you have a die that has that effect. So we're going to lay this on the ink pad. Now, here's where you can be messy or clean. I could take my fingers and rub all over that, but I'm instead just going to take the capped end, the putty end, of my Take Your Pick tool, because I can wipe this off really easily if I do fall off the metal die, versus if I get it on my fingers, right? So I'm going all over, making sure that I got some good, and I did go off the die. You know what, I'm just gonna swirl that on my chamois, which is right up here off the camera. Okay, so I don't want to use my pointy tip of my Take Your Pick tool to pick this up. I don't want to use my fingers because then all my fingers are going to have ink on them instead of the one I just laid down in the ink pad. And I'm going to pick that up. I'm going to bring in my plate for my die cutting. And I'm going to pull this off and lay this down on here. And then we're going to cut that. And I am not real worried about making sure that the ink is even. If it is, that's great. If it's not, to me, it's just helps with the weathered look. But there we go. So that got some good ink on it all around. I'm happy with that. That terracotta tile is on my hands now, but that's okay. I did go ahead before we went live, or before I did the video rather, and I cut out my shutters and I cut out my fence using that same technique. Okay, so let's work on putting this together. We are going to use another piece of that In Good Taste Designer Series paper. This is the one that looks a little bit like plaster, and it's got some of the blue scattered through it. And I could mount that flat on to the window, but I want a little bit of depth and dimension, and I don't know if you can see that, but definitely the wall looks like it's further away than right there pressed up against the window, which is what we want. So to do that, I'm going to grab some of my mini dimensionals, and again, I'm going to take my Take Your Pick tool, but now I am going to the pointy end, because I don't know about you, these little dimensionals and I sometimes don't get along the best. If you are wondering why you're seeing a black line across my dimensionals, and I'm not sure who I saw do this, I wish I could remember, but it's a time saver for me. I just draw a black line, and I haven't finished this sheet out yet, and that way when I go to take the backings off, I know right away that one the backing's already off of, rather than me sitting here and trying to pick it off, right? And so now I know that all four of those have the backing removed. But we do want to have some dimensionals on the outside edge. So I'm going to come through here, and I am just going to cut some of these in half. And we're going to pick those up. And if they go over the edge, you can trim them off. I've had to do that a time or two. But I'm probably just going to do a couple on each edge here. It does like my fingers when it gets sticky, doesn't it? Yours too, I'm sure. One more over there in the center. Okay, so now unfortunately when I cut them in half, right, I did not keep the lines, but I think I remember. So we're going to get rid of that one. That one's good. That one's good. So really it's just that one. And then what I'm going to do, and if this needs to be trimmed, that's absolutely fine. We're going to mount it to our DSP. And actually we're good, except we have to trim off just this little bit of a dimensional sticking out here. But otherwise, I think the paper is all good. So we have our window. We can go ahead and place that with seal. I'm going to keep it up so I have room down at the bottom for my greeting. Now I did go ahead and put dimensionals on the back of each of the shutters before we got together, just to save a little bit of your time. Okay. And I also did the shelf. And those are the little ones again. And I should probably use my take your pick tool, but I think maybe I can get them off. Since I already have them mounted to the piece, I can get the backings off pretty easily. And we're going to center that right here under the window. Okay. All right, so it's looking pretty good. We need our hinges, right? Well, I keep taking this off camera for you. There we go. We need our hinges. Remember I said that that single die cuts 4 hinges. And I cheated because there was no way I was going to try to put seal on the back of these tiny little hinges or even Tombow liquid glue, right? The green glue. So I used adhesive sheets. I added adhesive sheet to the back of a piece of soft suede. And it really does work well. If I could remember to use them all the time, that would be fabulous. I had that problem with the embossing buddy when we started doing embossing. I've been around for a while. I've been a demonstrator for over 17 years. I could never remember to use that embossing buddy. Well, I have the same problem with the adhesive sheets. I'll die cut something really intricate and then I'll be like, oh, darn, why didn't I put the adhesive sheet on there? But then I go to the liquid glue, the sponge, and the silicone pad, right? You know that trick? You put a puddle of glue on your silicone pad and then tap your sponge into it and tap it onto your die cut rather than trying to use the tip on the liquid glue. Works much better. That's also a great way to adhere vellum. That you don't really see the adhesive. All right, let's see how I did here getting them fairly across from each other. Yeah, I didn't do too bad. That looks pretty good. All right, so then the other thing we want to do is we're going to bring in some Just Jade again. Lay this on this side. And that flower stamp that I had here a minute ago. There it is. So this is a 2-step stamp. We're going to stamp this on a piece of scrap. We're going to bring in some Mango Melody. Did you see that the Mango Melody blends are retiring? Anybody else sad about that? I was not happy about that. Because sometimes I want that Mango Melody. It's just a little bit darker than even the darkest Daffodil Delight. Okay, we are going to use the die. We're going to cut this out, and by the magic of television, I already have that done. I also did the picture in Smoky Slate right before we got together. So I'm just going to add a little bit of seal to the back here. Mount that onto the picture. And then because we've done all the dimensional work behind our window frame, we can mount this with seal. We don't need to add any additional dimension. Okay, so we are down to our greeting. This is a 1/2 inch by 3.5 inches. And we're going to use one of the cool Dole label punches. I'm going to slide this in here. Now, when I do this, even though that fits nicely in that slot, I always flip it over. Always flip it over to make sure that it is centered back here, because I don't want it to go astray once it gets into the mechanism and I don't realize it, right? So push it in, flip it over, and punch. And you don't have to worry about measurements if you want to duplicate this card. I am going to put them in my comments along with links to my store. If you do not have a demonstrator that you're working with and you're ready to put an order in, I would love to be that demonstrator for you. We're looking for terracotta tile here, and we have a greeting. You've been on my mind. This is from Butterfly Gala, which is in fact retiring. That makes me sad because I like that set. We're going to try that on the other side. I'm using my grid paper there to help line me up. That's better. We like that one. Now, I'll tell you, the other thing I did is this is our basic white. I love our basic white cardstock. It is the replacement, if you didn't know, it is the replacement for the Whisper White. But it's bright white. And everything else on here, not so much. So I took one of our blending brushes and I just smudged this up a little bit. And yes, that's my technical term today, smudge. Not really just doing the edges. I'm kind of going the whole way over the label, right? And I'm not even worried about being even. Again, I want that antique-y kind of look. I think that looks good, but it's not quite as bright white now because we've got some of that smoky slate on there. And guess what? We're going back to our dimensionals. This card has a lot of dimensionals on it. And you know, I think, let's see if I can get away with the large ones. Let's try, shall we? Oh, yes. So with the large ones, I can probably, whoops, hello. Probably get away with 3 on there. Okay. Pull these off, bring this back in. And we're going to put this down here. I'm going to line the tip of the punch up with the edge of the DSP. And then we're going to add a little bit of bling. And then I have one more trick for the inside of the card to share with you. Not really a trick, just how I finished that off. This is a thinking of you card, and I typically leave my thank you and thinking of you cards blank on the inside so that I can customize them to whoever the recipient is going to be. What do you think of that? That is our card front. So I just have a piece of the basic white, the standard 5 1/4 by 4. I'm going to bring my Smoky Slate back in, and in the welcoming window stamp set, there is this really cool brick stamp. So I am going to do a little bit of masonry work, if you will, down the side of the card. And I'm offsetting, I'm going in and out off the edge of the basic white just to give it a little bit of interest. And then I'm going to leave the rest of it blank. I could absolutely put a terracotta pot down in this corner with some flowers in it. That would be another way to bring the card front inside. I will probably stamp some bricks down. Whoops, wrong one. Stamp some bricks down the edge of the envelope when I get ready to mail it so that my whole package that's being delivered coordinates. But there we go. And then you just have lots of space to write your message. All right, guys, that is my project for you today. Thank you so much. If you liked this and you have not subscribed, I would love for you to become a subscriber. Share the video with your friends and ring that bell so that you're notified when I put another video up. As I said earlier, if you don't have a demonstrator that you're looking for, I'd be happy to help you on your stamping journey. This is my website with my hostess code for this month. And when you place your first order with me, you will get a welcome gift from me. And then also, if you need a catalog, drop me a note and we'll figure out how we can make that happen for you. All right. Thanks so much for watching. Be sure to come back next Monday for another Make It Monday. Have a good week. Bye.